Oh boy, I haven't made another My Pokemon anime journey in a while, and a lot has happened. Ash has left the Pokemon anime, and the new Pokemon Horizon anime has started with some new characters. Anyway, without further ado, let's begin the next story of my Pokemon anime character and his adventures in the Johto region. So, it was a long journey, but Omega arrived at New Bot Town and headed to the Pokemon Center. Once there, he met with Nurse Joy and registered for the Johto League. While in New Bot Town, Omega had been training his team. Then some new Pokemon trainers see him and challenge him to a Pokemon battle. However, Omega's team was way too strong against the trainers' Pokemon, and wanted to be fair against the young Pokemon trainers. He decided to return back his strong team and use new Pokemon in the Johto region. So once he called Professor Oak, he returned all his Pokemon except Charizard to Professor Oak. Because the rule says you need to have at least one Pokemon in your team. When Omega finished his call with Professor Oak, a trainer named Phoenixia, knowing Omega from watching the Kanto region league worldwide, asked him politely so he could wait at New Bot Town to receive a first Pokemon from Professor Elm. Omega, having plenty of time, said yes and stayed at New Bot Town until Phoenixia get her starter Pokemon. On Phoenixia Day has come, Omega and Phoenixia went to Professor Elm's laboratory. When they arrived, they met with a trainer named Axel, who was also gaining a starter from Professor Elm. When they met with Professor Elm, the Pokemon that he has right now is Cyndaquil and Totodile. Phoenixia picked Totodile, while Axel picked Cyndaquil. Once she got her Pokemon started, she wanted to battle against Omega, but Axel would also like to battle against Omega as well. Omega said that he will battle against both of them with his Charizard. However, even though it's 2 against 1, and Phoenixia's Totodile knows Water Gun, they were defeated by Omega's high-level Charizard. When the battle was over, Axel said that Cyndaquil was too weak and decided not to have him as a starter. With that, he left and said he's going to get a different Pokemon. Everyone was mad about what Axel said. However, Cyndaquil was upset about the loss, as well as being left by its trainer. Omega was upset about Cyndaquil and asked Professor Elm to take Cyndaquil and part of his team. Professor Elm didn't agree at first, but then Cyndaquil made a decision and joined Omega. With that, Cyndaquil joined Omega. But before Omega leaves to the next city, Phoenixia wanted to go with Omega until they hit Violet City. Omega had no problem with it, so the two of them went to Violet City. They both arrived at Route 29, and Omega decided to train the Cyndaquil with his Charizard to prove its Ember attack. Omega then also battled some wild Pokemon with Cyndaquil, as well as some trainers. When Omega and Phoenixia arrived at Cherry Grove City, they healed their team at the local Pokemon Center. When morning came, Omega and Phoenixia head to Route 30. Now at the lower part of Route 30, Omega and Phoenixia see 5 bug trainers, using their Pokemon to headbutt against some trees. When Omega and Phoenixia asked them what they were doing, they said they were looking for a wild Heracross. But before Omega takes out his Pokédex what a Heracross is, a wild Heracross fell down from the tree and was ready to fight. The young trainers will go to battle against the wild Heracross. However, the Heracross was too powerful for them. But Omega wanted to help them and called out his Cyndaquil. Cyndaquil, knowing Ember now, was able to beat a wild Heracross, weakening it. Omega was thinking about how powerful Heracross was, decided to catch Heracross, adding him as his first catch Pokemon in the Johto region. The young trainers were upset about not getting the Heracross, but they understood it was too strong for them, so they let him keep the Heracross as he catched it. Even though Heracross didn't want to catch, he became good friends in Omega's team. Whilst training on Route 31, Phoenixia battled and captured a wild Sentret. After walking and stopping and doing some training, they both arrived at Violet City. Once there, the two healed their team, and Omega and Phoenixia what she's gonna do next. Phoenixia said that she's going to train a bit more before she goes to the gym, so she decided to go back to Route 31 to do some more training. Understanding Phoenixia, Omega said goodbye to her and wished her luck. Omega then head to the Violet City gym. Once there, he challenged the gym leader, Faulkner. Just like in the anime, Faulkner called out his Hoothoot, while Omega called out his Cyndaquil, and thanks to his good training, was able to beat Faulkner's Hoothoot. However, when Faulkner called out his Dodrio, was able to beat Omega's Cyndaquil. Wanting to save his Charizard for last, called out his Heracross. Even though Omega's Heracross was dealt some damage with his Horn attack, it got hit by some of Dodrio's flying attacks. Therefore, Heracross was defeated. With only using one Pokemon left, Omega called out his final Pokemon, Charizard, who dealt a powerful flamethrower, defeating Faulkner's Dodrio. Faulkner then called out his last Pokemon, Pidgeot. It was a high-flying battle, but Omega's Charizard was powerful and attacked Faulkner's Pidgeot with a couple of slash attacks and ended it with a Fire Blast. Faulkner was surprised about Omega's Charizard, gave him the Zephyr Badge. The following day, Omega looked at the map at the Pokemon Center, knowing that the closest gym is in Azalea Town. So when morning came, Omega healed his team and set off to Azalea Town. While walking, Omega on Route 32 captured two new Pokemon. The first is Mareep, and the second one was a Wooper. While balancing trainers on Route 32, two of Omega's Pokemon evolved. First, a Cyndaquil evolved into Quilava, and a Mareep evolved into Flappy. Also, his Pokemon learned some new moves. While headed to Azalea Town, Omega encountered Lizara, who invited him to the Charcific Valley. When Omega arrived at Charcific Valley, his Charizard wanted to prove to the other Charizards that he's good to take them on. While Omega agreed that his Charizard was strong, he couldn't defeat one of the Charizards. Lizara points to Omega's Charizard. If he defeats the weakest Charizard, it could stay in Charcific Valley and improve its strength. Omega's Charizard did some aerial combat with the weakest Charizard, and luckily, it managed to defeat the weakest Charizard. Omega then stayed in Charcific Valley and watched his Charizard train happily. The next morning, Omega told his Charizard to stay at Charcific Valley to train. However, Omega's Charizard didn't want to stay, and decided to go with him. Omega tells his Charizard to stay and improve, but his Charizard wouldn't listen to him. Then, Quilava came out of his Pokeball, and without Omega understanding what he was saying, knows that he's trying to convince Charizard to stay in Charcific Valley. Charizard started to cry, and then hugs Omega, and Omega tells him to show them what he can do. While Omega walks away, Charizard let off a mighty flamethrower, showing that he will become strong. When Omega arrived at Route 33, he decided to do some training with his team. Whilst training, Quilava learned Flame Wheel, Heracross learned Brick Break, Flappy learned Thunder Wave, and Wooper learned Mud Bomb. Once the training was over, Omega and his team arrived in Sahelia Town. Once arrived, Omega healed his team and went to Sahelia Town's gym to challenge the gym leader, Bugsy. The battle started with Bugsy's Spinnerack against Omega's Heracross. Thanks to the extra training, Omega's Heracross was able to defeat Bugsy's Spinnerack. Bugsy then called back his Spinnerack and called out his Metapod. Omega then called back his Heracross and called out Flappy. Even though Metapods are weak, Bugsy's Metapod was fast. But thanks to Omega's quick thinking, Omega told Flappy to use Thunder Wave. By doing that, Bugsy's Metapod was paralyzed. With one mighty Thundershock, was able to win the battle. Bugsy then called back his Metapod and called out his Cypher. Omega still kept his Flappy and battled against his Cypher. However, with Bugsy's Cypher's Sword Dance and Double Team, was able to win Omega's Flappy. Omega, knowing that he needed to save his Quilava for last, called out his Heracross. Bugsy's Cypher was powerful because it knows moves Sword Dance and Double Team. However, Omega's Heracross was able to still keep fighting, but it didn't last for long because at the end, Omega's Heracross was unable to battle. Omega can only use one Pokemon left, and they called out Quilava. With Quilava's quick speed, and by doing a mighty Flame Wheel, was able to defeat Bugsy's Cypher, winning the gym battle. After the battle was over, Bugsy then gave Omega the Hive Badge. Once he healed his team at the Pokemon Center, Omega then head to Goldenrod City, where the next gym is. Whilst traveling through the Alex Forest, Omega decided to train his team ready for the next gym in the forest for a few days. Whilst training, Omega's Wooper evolved into Quagsire. After 2 full days of training, Omega and his team went out and entered Route 34, where they entered outside of Goldenrod City. Whilst walking around Goldenrod City, Omega got lost and found an abandoned Eevee. It was dirty and it was shaking. Omega gave the Eevee some Pokemon food and tried to comfort the Eevee. After a couple of minutes, the Eevee started to trust Omega. Omega then picked up the Eevee and looked for the Pokemon Center. After finding the Pokemon Center in Goldenrod City, Omega gave Nurse Joy the Eevee that he found. After 15 minutes, Nurse Joy then told Omega that the Eevee that he found was abandoned. Omega, not liking to leave the Eevee outside in the city, asked the Eevee that he would like to come with him. The Eevee nodded his head and smiled in agreement, and Omega catch it with a Pokeball, adding Eevee to his team. Omega then stayed the night at the Pokemon Center, and the next morning he healed his team, and then head to the Goldenrod City Gym to battle against the Goldenrod's gym leader, Whitney. Just like in the anime, Whitney started with Nirina. However, it was defeated by Omega's Quilava. The next Pokemon Whitney called out was Clefairy, but just like Whitney's Nirina, it couldn't win against Omega's Quilava. But the next Pokemon Whitney called out was a Miltank. The Miltank was so strong, it took out Omega's Quilava with only 2 hits of a rollout attack. But Omega didn't give up and called out his Heracross. With Heracross training, was able to break Miltank's rollout attack with his Brick Break. Even though it was super effective, Whitney's Miltank still kept standing. Whitney then told Miltank to do a rollout again, and Omega told Heracross to use Brick Break again. But this time, Whitney told Miltank to jump over Heracross and tap from behind. While doing that, it jumped over Heracross's horns and tapped from behind. Omega then came up with another strategy and told his Heracross to grab the rolling Miltank. While Heracross was grabbing the rolling Miltank, something was happening to Omega's Heracross. Omega's Heracross's horns lit up red, and one swing on his horn downwards, Whitney's rolling Miltank smashing it to the ground. On knowing what that move was, Omega pulled out his Pokédex and found out his Heracross learned Counter. With Whitney's Miltank still on the ground dizzy from Heracross's counter, Omega yelled at his Heracross, telling him to use Brick Break while they still have a chance. And with one swing with his Brick Break, Whitney's Miltank was defeated. With the battle over, Whitney then gave Omega the Playing Badge. With the 3rd badge in hand, after healing his team, he left Goldenrod City and decided to do some training on Route 34. A week has passed on Route 34 and Omega's team has become a lot stronger. Also, the Eevee that Omega had evolved into an Espeon. Before Omega leaves, he met with Ash, Brock and Misty, who Ash was about to enter the bug catching competition. Omega wanted to have some fun as well, decided to join in, with the rules only picking one Pokemon in his team, and that is being Quilava. While Omega was running around finding a bug Pokemon, he captured a powerful Cypher with the special part Pokeball they had to use. However, it wasn't enough to win the bug catching competition, but he came in 2nd place and he was allowed to keep the Cypher. After saying goodbye to Ash, Brock and Misty, as well as Cassie, Omega passed to Route 36, as well as Route 37, and arrived at Ecruteak City. When arriving at Ecruteak City, he arrived at the Ecruteak Gym and battled Morty. In the first battle, Morty used Ghastly, while Omega used his Quagsire. Knowing Mudshot and Mudbone was able to beat Morty's Ghastly. In the second battle, Morty called back his Ghastly and called out his Haunter. Omega decided to call back his Quagsire and call out his Quilava. With Quilava's Quick Flame Wheel, was able to hit Morty's Haunter. However, Quilava got hit by Haunter's Hypnosis, following up with a Nightshade, but luckily Quilava was able to wake up quickly and finish it out with an Ember. Morty then called back to his Haunter and called out his Gengar. Even though Omega's Quilava was badly hurt, he still wanted to keep on fighting. However, Quilava was able to be defeated by Morty's Gengar. Omega wanted to save his best Pokemon for last, called out his Quagsire. Unfortunately, Quagsire got hit by Gengar's Hypnosis. Then Quagsire got hit by a Shadow Punch, making Quagsire unable to battle. With only one Pokemon left, Omega called out his Espeon, and with a type advantage was able to win Morty's Gengar. With the battle over, Morty then gave Omega the Fog Badge. When Omega went to the Ecruteak City Pokemon Center and healed his team, he found out where the next gym is, and the closest one is Olive City. Whilst traveling to Olive City and battling some trainers and wild Pokemon on Route 38, Omega's Flaffy evolved into Ampharos. But when Omega arrived at Olive City, he found that the gym was closed, so he decided to wait until it reopens. But the closest gym Omega can go to is Sandwood City. However, he needs a water Pokemon to get to Sandwood City. Even though he has Quagsire, he can't find a way to ride him. So, he decided to call Professor Oak and switch out his Quagsire for Lapras. Lapras was happy to see Omega, and he was so happy to ride him all the way to Sandwood City. Once arrived there, Omega then challenged the Sandwood City Gym, Chuck. Chuck called out his Primate, while Omega called out Espeon. With Espeon knowing some better psychic moves, it was a close battle, but luckily, Omega's Espeon won the battle. Chuck then called back his Primate and called out his Poliwrath. But when the battle started, and with one mighty focus punch, sends Omega's Espeon out of the ring. Omega then called back his Espeon and called out his newly evolved Ampharos. Ampharos and Poliwrath exchanged blow after blow, until it was a cross counter with Ampharos' Thunder Punch and Poliwrath's Focus Punch. Silence followed for a second, until Poliwrath fell to the ground in defeat, with Ampharos still standing. With Chuck's defeat and kind words, give Omega the Storm Badge. Once Omega got out of the gym, Omega decided he needed to train his team again. Once he healed them, they went north to Sandwood City's beach. Whilst training, Omega's Quilava evolved into a Typhlosion. One day, when Omega went to heal his team, he encountered Ash, Brock and Misty again. After chatting with them and know what happened to the gym in Oliver City, Omega decided to watch Ash's battle against Chuck. And just like in the anime, Chuck uses Poliwrath and Machoke, while Ash used Pikachu and Bayleaf. In the end, Ash got the Storm Badge. At night, Ash then called Jamina, the gym leader's apprentice, on the video phone. And Gina informs that Sparky, the Ampharos, is feeling much better thanks to the medicine. Jasmine, the gym leader, still needs some time before she resumes her gym leader duties. Ash understands the situation and thanks Yunima before they hang it up. Omega, still with Ash and his companions, overhear the conversation. They all ask what they're gonna do next. Ash's friends decide to travel to the World Islands after learning that the archipelago has mysterious Pokemon, while Omega decided to go to the Safari Zone in the Johto region. The next morning, Omega waves goodbye to Ash and his friends after they go to the World Islands, and Omega heads to the Safari Zone. Whilst traveling on Route 47, Omega won some battles against two double battle trainers. The first one was using a Magmar and Electabuzz, while the second one used a Corsair and an Onix. After a while, Omega arrived at the Johto Safari Zone. In the Johto Safari Zone, he found that there are a total of 12 areas. After talking to some people who knows the inside, says that there's a swamp and the mountain area are the best place to go to find some Pokemon. Omega went to the swamp area and saw some Pokemon he has seen before, until he saw a Murkrow. Wanting to have a new member in the team, he threw the special Safari Ball, and after 3 shakes, Omega caught a Murkrow, and after that, it was teleported to Professor Oak's laboratory. Still having time left, he went into the mountain area. After seeing some Rattata and Lickitungs, Omega saw a new Pokemon that he hadn't seen before, and that Pokemon is Larvitar. After a few failed catches, Omega ended up catching a Larvitar. Omega then switched out his Cypher for Larvitar. Whilst traveling back to Sandwood City, Omega did some training with Larvitar. Omega then ride Lapras all the way to Oliver City. However, when Omega got back to Oliver City Gym, it was still closed, so he decided to do a little bit of training in Oliver City. Before that, Omega switches Lapras for Quagsire. But tomorrow morning, Oliver City's gym was finally open, and Omega was able to battle against the gym leader, Jasmine. Just like in the anime, Jasmine started with Magnemite. Omega was about to call out Quagsire, but decided to call out Larvitar. Larvitar, being a rock and ground type, had the advantage, and it would be good to test out all of his training. Jasmine Magnemite, using Supersonic and Sonic Boom, was able to knock back Omega's Larvitar, but with 4 Screeches, a Scary Face, and a Bite, was able to push it back. But when Jasmine Magnemite used Thunder Wave, Larvitar was paralyzed, and with 1 Sonic Boom, Larvitar was unable to battle. Omega then called back Larvitar and called out Quagsire, but with 1 Mud Bomb, was able to defeat Jasmine's Magnemite. Jasmine then called back her Magnemite and called out Magnetron, but Omega was able to defeat Magnetron with Mud Bomb and Mud Shots. When Jasmine called back her Magnetron, she called out her most powerful Pokemon, Steelix. Omega, still keeping Quagsire, was able to deal some damage, but with a few digs and Iron Tails from Jasmine's Steelix, was able to defeat Omega's Quagsire. Once Omega called back his Quagsire, Omega then called out his Typhlosion. With the type advantage and the quick flamethrowers, was able to beat Jasmine's Steelix, earning Omega the Mineral Badge. After that, Omega then finds out the next gym you need to go to is Mahogany Town, so he needs to pass Shinwood City. Omega then leaves Oliver City and heads to Shinwood City. And I think it's a good place to end the story for now. Okay, now I know I'm gonna get some questions in the comments about the story and the plot, and Omega taking Cyndaquil from Professor Elm, but let me get things all out. The Cyndaquil that Omega has is not the Cyndaquil that Jimmy has, because Jimmy, Maria, and Vincent already got their starters before Ash and his friends entered New Breaktown. So the Cyndaquil and the Totodile that were introduced into this little story were the same Cyndaquil and Totodiles from the Johto League where Ash and his friends enter New Breaktown. And I came up with the idea of the two new trainers of where they entered Professor Elm and received their Pokemon, and I thought it would be a nice story. Alright, now the next question I'm going to get soon is, has Ash and his friends passed Omega when they're in New Breaktown? Yes, Ash and his friend came in New Breaktown while Omega was in the town. However, they didn't see each other until the bug catching competition. Next question is, how did Omega pass Ash and his friends while he was behind? Simple, because Ash and his friends always stop somewhere to help someone. By doing that, Omega was able to pass Ash and his friends. Now, I think that's all the questions I think I answered, but if there's any questions you want to answer, don't be afraid to comment them down below. Now, without further ado, let's talk about the new Pokemon Omega captured and their moves. First off is Cyndaquil from Professor Elm. His moves are Tackle, Leer, and Smoke Screen, but whilst training with Omega, he forgot Smoke Screen and learned Ember and Quick Attack. Then, once he evolved into Quilava, he forgot Tackle and Leer and learned Flame Wheel and Swift. When he finally evolved into Typhlosion, he forgot Ember and Swift, and learned Lava Plume and Flamethrower. Next is Heracross. His moves are Horn Attack, Fury Attack, Tackle, and Leer. But after some training, he forgot Tackle and Leer and learned Aerial Ace and Brick Break. During the battle against Whitney's Mentank, he forgot Fury Attack and learned Counter. Lastly, he forgot Aerial Ace and learned Close Combat. Next up is Marie. All it knew was Tackle, Growl, and Thunder Shock. But after some training on Route 33, he learns Thunder Wave and then evolves into Flappy. Flappy didn't learn any moves until he evolved into Ampharos. His moves are Thunder Punch, Discharge, Single Beam, and after some training on the beach at Oliver City, he learns Iron Tail. Now it's Wooper. All Wooper knew was Tail Whip, Water Gun, Mud Sprout, and Mud Shot. But once he forgot Mud Sprout to learn Mud Bomb. Then by doing some training on Route 34, he evolved into Quagsire. Quagsire then forgot Tail Whip and learned Yawn. Now of course, it's Eevee. In the original game, you get Eevee from Bill, but I didn't want to do that, so I came up with the abandoned Eevee story. Just like the previous Eevee, all this one knew was Tackle, Sand Attack, Growl, and Quick Attack. But when it evolved to Espeon, she got strong and forgot Sand Attack, Growl for Swift, and Confusion. After some training, she forgot Confusion for Psybeam, and then Tackle for Attract. Now it's Cypher. Now this is the same Cypher in the Bug Stop Here. Now I know Cypher would be win in the game, but since I don't want to ruin Ash's story, I use the second prize method, so Omega has a Cypher. Now Cypher's moves is Cut, Agility, Quick Attack, and Focus Energy. Whilst training, it forgot Agility for Wing Attack, Quick Attack for Fury Cutter, Cut for Slash, and Focus Energy for Double Team. Last but never not least is Little Larvitar. Larvitar only knew was Rock Slide, Sandstorm, Bite, and Screech, but after some training, it forgot Screech and learned Thrash. Now Omega did catch a Murkrow, but since he hadn't used it, he doesn't know the moves. But don't worry, I will add Murkrow in the future story. Well, I hope you enjoyed my part 4 of my Pokemon anime journey in the Johto region. My name is Omega Emperor. Stay awesome.